I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Mark, chapter 12, and let's focus on verses 41 through 44. Sitting across from the temple treasury, he watched how the crowd dropped money into the treasury. Many rich people were putting in large sums, and a poor woman came and dropped in 2 tiny coins worth very little. And summoning his disciples, he said to them, I assure you, this woman, this poor widow, has put in more than those giving to the temple treasury. For they all gave out of their surplus, but she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she possessed, all she had to live on. So throughout Mark 12 and beginning of chapter 13, there's a series of teachings that form a continuous thought concerning money and the heart. And perhaps the most endearing teaching is the account of Jesus' recognition and honoring a poor widow as she presented her offering in the temple. It's worth noting that Jesus was watching the crowd as they gave their money. And he wasn't just in the proximity of the offering box, he was intently watching it. So much so that he noticed even the smallest of offerings. The Messiah's notice of the widow's offering adds to the urgency of his warning against the scribes. And we find that in Mark 12, verse 40. They devour widows' houses, and they say in long prayers just for show. Jesus' observation of the widow is closely tied to his quoting of the Shema, right? In Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 6 and 7. Well, actually, beginning in verse 4. Hear, O Israel. It comes, like I said, from Deuteronomy chapter 6. And we find this in Mark chapter 12, verse 29 and 30, where Jesus quotes it. Listen, Israel, hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. This woman was living out the Shema with all that she had and all that she was. Meanwhile, the scribes were only rendering lip service. They'd say the Shema, but they weren't whole self in. This widow secretly glorified God with all that she had. The scribes advertised what they gave to glorify themselves. Sadly, the religious leaders, those whose job it was to exemplify the Shema for the people, well, they had chosen to ignore it. And they should have listened to Jesus' exhortation in Mark 12, verse 17. Give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God the things that are God's. So in coveting the things of Caesar, worldliness, they robbed God, not merely of money, they robbed him of his most cherished offering, themselves. Given what the shepherds of Israel had become, is it any wonder that the Messiah will predict the temple's destruction at the beginning of Mark chapter 13? So let us always remember that Jesus intently watches our offerings, whether they be offerings of money or our time or our talent. As God is one, let each of us worship him singularly, that is, wholly and completely devoted to knowing God and making him known. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And your giving to Groundworks Ministries transforms lives. Would you consider making a donation to Groundworks Ministries today? Because we need your monthly support now more than ever. And donating is secure and it's easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. Now, another way to help is to tell people about Groundworks Ministries. Share these podcasts with your friends and family and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com.